Hello, everyone, and welcome to my channel, Messages to Myself. I'll be talking a lot about stuff that I feel strongly about, or things that I've simply been thinking about. This topic is of the latter, and despite me having a firm grasp on how I define my masculinity, there has been a lot of discussion as to what it is to be truly masculine. In recent years, the definition of masculinity has been ever changing in the social landscape. Many people have been giving their own definitions of what masculinity is or should be, which leads to videos like these.
Even positive change is not always healing. I'll illustrate with two quick examples from my life, but this video is not about me. My father was a very traditional Western patriarch. I never saw him clean a single thing in our home, and the only time he cooked was when there was highly performative, male-coded meat cooking to be done, like grilling burgers. I do the majority of cooking and cleaning in our home these days. That's change, but it's not healing. My father's motivation for never doing any domestic labor was that his concept of being a man involved treating his partner like a servant. He was trying to embody his concept of healthy masculinity. His focus was on himself. It was an expression of his insecurity, and ironically, his fear of being unlovable. My practice of picking up the majority of domestic labor in my home today is motivated by my effort to embody my concept of healthy masculinity. My focus and motivation remain on myself. So I've changed from my inherited pattern of behavior, but I haven't healed. My foundational motivation remains the same as my father's. In working to heal the pattern that I could see was problematic in my family, I ran right back around into it in a circle. I'm still operating from a self-centered, insecurity-driven motivation. I'm not condemning myself. I've made serious progress, and the changes I've achieved around this have very serious positive impacts on my life. Change is often a precursor to healing. It's good change. It's just very, very dangerous to conflate or confuse that with actual healing.
Nature abhors a vacuum, and there's a real vacuum for elders. Like we don't learn how to shave from our fathers. It's a YouTube video, and so you lose something in that bonding. So there's a big bit in the new show where I give a young guy, an audience member, a pretty tough time. Like we have the talk, and I give them advice on how to be with a woman, and I'm not wrong about anything. It's really funny and it's really rude, but I'm not wrong about stuff. It's about consent, and I think it's really good because I've sugared the pill of the message because people don't want to talk about it. People go, it's obvious what consent is. Yeah, not to 17-year-old boys or girls. It's like, actually, what does that look like and how should that be? So it's a really fun routine. It's a really fun routine to perform and to write.
What is it to be a man these days? Because it's quite confusing in terms, even the conversation around like chivalry and understanding,
Well, people talk about toxic masculinity and easy fix. Be a gentleman, be a mensch. That's it. This is done. Be a gentleman, be a mensch. A gentleman is never rude by accident. It's Christopher Hitchens' line. Great.
How do you know he's really masculine? He scares the fuck out of you. How do you know he's not gonna hurt you? He has a system of values that he upholds, and you see his behavior.
A man that is able to hurt you deeply, but still chooses not to. And that is what makes him inherently powerful.
And that's also what makes him respectable. So the man that can hurt you and chooses to protect you is the man that is truly capable to defend you from the other men, because he is that capable.
Yes, and this even goes back to morality, is if you're able to do something, but
It seems like every person has a different definition of what it is to be masculine and what isn't. It used to be simple, black and white. However, more recently, it has become a lot more nuanced and a lot more gray. There are those who use the old definition, a stoic man who shows little to no emotions, maybe with a few exceptions, a family man with values tied to that, and more than likely one that simply works to put food on the table, being the breadwinner. Usually there isn't much room for emotional availability. You have to be the manly man, strong, a provider, a protector, and possibly be someone with the ability to fix a lot of random things for some reason. A research paper titled Traditional Masculinity and Aggression in Adolescence, Its Relationship with Emotional Processes, This research concludes that there is indeed a relationship between traditional masculinity with reactive and proactive aggression. The initial hypothesis was that the reason for this is due to the lack of emotional regulation as well as poor impulse control. I would encourage you to read more of the research paper. Link will be in the description below. Although there are negative connotations to what traditional masculinity is, it is also the reason for a lot of good things. The competitiveness of trying to be the best or to create something new has given way to a lot of advancements that has helped society as a whole, as well as the idea that they are protectors and providers for their families and in some societies for their communities as well. A lot of people from my generation or those before me most likely had a father that followed the typical traditional male stereotype. In my case at least, I did not see the actual benefits of it until much later in my life. A more modern understanding of masculinity is one of vulnerability and accepting one's own emotions, one of emotional intelligence. An article from Medium.com says, one of the most significant shifts in modern masculinity is the rejection of the traditional male stereotype. The idea of the stoic, unemotional man who is always in control has given way to a more emotionally expressive man who is comfortable with vulnerability. This shift is in part a response to the recognition that traditional masculinity has been harmful to men themselves, leading to social isolation, depression, and substance abuse. Modern masculinity is also marked by a greater emphasis on equality and respect for women. This shift is fueled by the feminist movement, which has challenged traditional gender roles and paved the way for a more equitable society. Men are increasingly expected to be allies and advocates for gender equality, not just for the benefits of women, but for their own benefits as well. I had a realization when I was still in high school about masculinity, or at least for how I defined it for myself. I was in class, of course, my friends and I were talking about some really dumb shit. I don't remember what it was exactly, but it was probably about fighting or something. My favorite teacher to this day decided to join in on the conversation and made a distinction about me that I didn't realize until much later on in my life. She said, he's much more of a lover than a fighter. I was confused, of course, as to what she meant, to which she just repeated what she said the first time. You're much more of a lover than a fighter. I understand now, obviously, that there isn't just one way to define your own masculinity. It's probably something I wouldn't have realized if she hadn't given me the option of seeing more than just one side. As you can see, modern masculinity has shifted the way society views it. It seems like the idea of modern masculinity is a way to correct for how traditional masculinity was, and how it has affected society. But some may say we have overcorrected. More recently, in the last 2 to 3 years, a rift has been created. The rise of red pill media has created this rift. People have started chanting for the return of traditional masculinity and traditional gender roles, claiming that modern society has turned men into quote-unquote babies who can't handle the truth. The movement mainly seems to talk about dating dynamics and the expectations that come with that, as well as try helping men become better versions of themselves through going to the gym and creating wealth. The red pill is a pill that on the surface seems like an easy pill to swallow, but looking deeper into it, it feels like it is more sinister than it would at first glance. Despite the many that have begun flocking to it, it's not something that I personally agree with. However, there are things within that movement that may actually be beneficial for men. Almost all of them tout the same things: go to the gym, invest your money wisely, create wealth, which is all good advice. The issue is that it has also given rise to men to be, uh, let's just say, rude. There's a constant tug of war between the two as to which is more helpful to the others, which is better for oneself, and which is more productive for society. Personally, I feel like there are things from both sides that are just beneficial regardless of which side of the coin you're on, whether it's working out to improve your health, introspection, or therapy so that you can better yourself mentally. Some even suggest religion or some form of meditation for spirituality. I don't think it's best to go to the extremes or to think of things in such a black and white way. There are positives and negatives to anything, and my thought process is to always take whatever positives I can while trying to stay away from the negatives. I don't believe that wealth is what makes a man, nor does how much they work out or how many fights they've been in or won. I believe more than anything that a man is made by his actions and his intentions. But what does it mean to be truly masculine? Is it the traditional way? Is it the more modern way? Is it the magical blend that is the red pill that has captivated society and taken it by storm? At the end of the day, it is entirely your choice on how to define masculinity for yourself. I already know how I define it, as thankfully I had great role models to look up to, but some may not have that same privilege. The whole point of this video is to provoke people into rethinking what it is they perceive to be truly masculine and define it for themselves, instead of having to use some predetermined definition or have someone as a scapegoat. The choice of whether to improve will always be in your hands. Feel free to discuss or debate in the comment section. I'll try my best to reply to any comments as quickly as I can. And yeah, thank you for watching the video. This is my first upload, so I'd appreciate any feedback you may have for this video. If you have any suggestions for future videos, let me know in the comment section below. Also feel free to discuss, and I'll try to reply to any comments that do come up. Please like and subscribe, and I hope to see you again.